Rob, thank you for taking the time to chat with me today.
Happy to do so, Sarah. Thanks for having me.
So, to start out, let's level set. How many electric trucks do you have on the road, and how many are you planning to deploy?
So our overall plan for electric trucks, Sarah, is to have 92 battery electric vehicles in our intermodal operations in Southern California by the end of this year. We've got half of those on the road today. So we've got 45 trucks in operation already, more being delivered each week. We'll have a majority by the end of September and then 92 by the end of the year.
That's incredible. And that's out of how many trucks total in your fleet?
Over 10,000 in the Schneider fleet in total. Just there in Southern California in our intermodal fleet, this will actually be half of the trucks we'll have on the road in Southern Cal supporting intermodal will be battery electric.
So, what are the best use cases for these all electric Class 8 trucks?
We're really excited about where we're deploying them. That's in our intermodal dray operations in Southern California. The range is about 220 miles. It can be a little bit longer as the drivers adapt to the truck. But with a 220-mile range, that's going to limit us to things like intermodal dray, where the average length of haul is about 75 miles. A lot of freight right there in that Southern California, Los Angeles region. So it's a perfect application of a truck with 220 miles that also comes back to base so that we have our one charging solution to support all these trucks.
And for a point of clarification, when you're talking about that dray, that's with ports, is that correct?
A little bit of port activity. Most of that for us will be actually the intermodal ramp locations in California. So some of that is coming through the port. A lot of it is just with those rail customers, delivering those containers to the rails and thus us picking them up and taking them to customers in that Southern California area.
Okay, so you're about halfway towards your goal of transitioning your fleet. What are some things you wish you knew when you got started?
It's a great question. A lot has gone well, and there's definitely lessons that we've learned. A couple things that I would say that go well that we just have to make sure we continue to do is one, this is a much more complicated implementation of a new technology than just taking new trucks on like we normally do. So we had a lot of really good partner suppliers, and that selection process and finding the right people to work with, I feel like it went well, but it really reinforced you got to work with the right partners to get there. There's some delays going to be in a project like this. And one of the things that we did that we possibly could have even done sooner was we actually brought some temporary charging assets into place. We actually started to take delivery of the trucks before all of the chargers were fully put in place and electrified. And so by having that temporary charger there, our first 5 trucks were able to start doing some work and getting the drivers trained. And so some of those temporary solutions, something we take away as a really good lesson learned. The other thing I think we wish we'd have known is this takes a lot longer than we thought. So if you look at from the initial building plans, engineering plans, and grant application that we did, it was a year or two before we really started construction. Well, what happened during that process was some of the technology changed. So we had our initial engineering plans in place with the chargers, for example. Well, the chargers were a different model 2 years later. And so we had to go back and redo some of the engineering, redo some of the permitting that we had to do with the utilities. And so understanding that that might change probably changes the order that we would have done some of the work.
How long did you think it would take when you started versus what it actually took?
Yeah, if you look at the whole project, it was about 3 years, really, from when we really had those hardcore plans to when just in June that we had a ribbon cutting ceremony there. We thought that would have been about 8 or 9 months sooner. So those various delays that we run into, some of the rework that we had to do, a little bit of permitting delays and those type of things, about a 9-month delay. So we were thinking 2 years and it was closer to 3.
So I want to go back to that point you just mentioned about charging. This is something that I've been noticing with companies that are looking to electrify heavy duty trucks are working with utilities to accelerate that deployment of this new infrastructure. And I know you recently finished installing charging stations in that facility in California. What was the process to make that a reality?
Yeah, and that was the linchpin of much of the project was getting that right and going through that process to your question. I'll start with just the plan itself. So we've got 16 350 kilowatt charging posts in place. So about a 4.8 megawatt overall power requirement. So really one of the early steps we had to do once we understood that was really our charging plan and requirement for the number of trucks we we're going to deploy, we had to get with the utility and talk about, is 4.8 megawatts available? And if not now, when, and what type of infrastructure has to be put in place to do that? Really important piece of advice I would give everybody is have that conversation as soon as possible, but also understand that that might be a couple years before you actually go active. And the utilities demand is going to change over those 2 years. So that's another lesson we took away. Early, it looked like that may not be a problem as we worked on the project and time went by. And there were other demands on the utility in our area of South El Monte. Okay, well, then they had to make other infrastructure changes in order to support us. That was some of those delays that I talked about. So getting with the utility early, understanding just the nature of that plan, and can they support the power? Is the grid ready for it is obviously the question everybody's asking themselves. And fortunately, Southern Cal Edison is our utility provider in California. It did a great job getting us there. But again, it took a little bit longer. It took a lot of coordination and understanding to make sure we had the right engineering plans to be able to accomplish the goals that we had.
Yeah, so it sounds like start early and find the right partners to make it a reality.
Absolutely.
Well, Rob, it has been a pleasure catching up with you, and I cannot wait to see some of these trucks on the road.
They're beautiful, Sarah. They're orange, so you can't miss them. They look great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.